Hi, I welcome you to my channel Finely Tuned. This is Sehim Mohit, and today we'll be talking about the short delivery and the consequences that it has for the buyer and the seller. So let's get started. So, what exactly is a short delivery? Is nothing but when the seller of the stock he is failing to deliver the shares to the exchange, which is in turn for the buyer's demat account. It will result in short delivery. So generally, this occurs when the intraday short positions cannot be closed because of illiquidity or the stocks being hitting the upper circuit, right? So we have upper circuit bands. That's a separate topic altogether. But yeah, so generally, what happens is when there is a short delivery, there will be consequences which will be different for the buyer and the seller. So let's first try to understand what are the consequences for the buyer, and then we'll get back to the seller. But I just hope the meaning of the short delivery is very simple, which again in main it means that there was a seller who didn't hold the stock, or he's failing to deliver the stocks, and there was a buyer who bought the stock, but he didn't get the delivery from the seller. So this is all about the short delivery. Okay, now moving on to the buyer's consequences, right? So first of all, let's try to understand like how will the buyer know the shares have been short delivered, right? I'm taking an example here of Zerodha because it's a most leveraged platform across India. But definitely from all the brokers, I would expect that there is a notification which is coming from an email, and also the application notification where when a short delivery happens. So that short delivery tag, if you see on the right side, right? So it's for another uh, other account, but definitely the appearance of the UI would be something like there will be a short delivery tag that's being displayed beside the stock that has been short delivered, as you can see in the photo, right? And from the mail standpoint, we will get an email from the brokers stating that hey, your purchase of XYZ quantity of the stock has been short delivered, and then it will be delivered to my demat account, or the funds, in case the exchange is not able to buy back, will be credited to my ledger account on the settlement. So generally, there are some steps which we will be discussing, which happens on the short delivery in the next slides for the seller, which will make our timelines clear, like as to if I will get the delivery of the shares or will I get the amount that's being paid out for the shares. Okay, so generally what happens is for everyone's understanding, the shares will be credited to the buyer's demat account on T plus 2 day, where after the exchange holds an auction on T plus 1 day, they will try to procure the short delivered shares. And in case the exchange is not able to procure the shares in the auction, the Zerodha account or or your broker account, they will be credited with the cash, which is based on the closeout price. So I'll try to make out another video on the cash settlement, which happens on the closeout delivery. But from understanding standpoint, let's try to take an example, like example scenario where, let's say you have purchased the shares on Monday, which is T day. They will be tagged as T1, right? If the shares were not delivered on Tuesday, which is T plus 1, there will be a short delivery tag that will be applied because generally you are not holding that stock. Now, the exchange will try to deliver the shares procured from the auction market held on Tuesday. So, generally, the auction will happen tomorrow on the T plus 1, and they will try to deliver them on Wednesday, which is T plus 2. And then the shares will be generally held and they will be visible in your portfolio of your respective broker on Thursday, which is T plus 3. This is what happens from the buyer standpoint, but rest assured, the exchange will try to settle you back with the shares or the amount, but there will not be any consequences of loss or the penalties for the buyers because we have bought the stock. There was a person who is willing to sell, which he didn't held the stock, so there might be a few additional consequences from the seller standpoint. Let's try to understand. Okay, now this is from the seller standpoint. Let's say this is a perfect example where the stock had hit the upper circuit on a particular day, and there was an anticipation by a person that the stock will again release the circuit and go down. So he has sold the stock which he didn't held, and then he's not able to purchase it back from the market before the closing out time, which resulted in the delivery of the stock which is he didn't have and a short delivery. Now what happens is the exchange will conduct an auction to deliver these short quantities from the other sellers. So for the shares which were sold on Monday, the auction will happen on Tuesday with a closing price of the Monday, which will be used to determine the auction price. Okay, and the price range of the auction will be capped at 20% on the upper end and lower end. So if you try to understand the ledger, how it will look like from all your broker standpoint is, let's say we have deposited 150 for trading, and then we have delivered a shares, or we have short a security for this amount, which is the net settlement which is happening here. And then what happens is there is a short delivery, right? So we just discussed that the auction will happen on Tuesday, and the closing price of Monday will be used to determine the auction price. And the price range of the auction is capped at 20% at the upper end and lower end. So on Tuesday, the auction can sell the shares, or the auction price, where the person who wants to bid in the auction can set the price plus 20 minus 20 depending on the stock price on the next Tuesday. So generally what happens is the broker tries to block the margin of 20%, which is 150 plus 20% from your demat account, in case where on the next day, on Tuesday, if there is any person who is willing to sell at about 20, because the stock might have hit the upper circuit on Tuesday as well, then you will eventually, it has to be bought at 181K rather than 150K, right? So in this case, what happens is, let's say if I have sold 100 shares on Monday at 800, and the stock had hit the upper circuit and there are no sellers, I cannot buy back. On Tuesday, the closing price of Monday, which is 800, will be used to determine the price, and then 20%, which is 960 upper side, and then 640 on the lower side will be the price on Tuesday for the bidders to bid in the auction. That's how it works. Okay, so yeah, definitely it's in this scenario what happened was the auction settlement happened on a lower side, because on the next day the stock went down, and fortunately it didn't hit the upper circuit. Had it hit the upper circuit, the 20% margin would have been added to the to 150K, and then the buyer would have to pay like 180K, right? But generally what happens is, if the auction price is lesser than the closing price on T day, then the higher price will be used to calculate the auction penalty, and the difference between the auction price and the closing price will be transferred to the investor protection fund. So in no case the seller of the stock can benefit out of it on the next day if the stock goes down. Okay, so this is all the concept of short delivery. So my suggestion would be, if any person who is doing intraday trading, um, and if he doesn't have any stock, and if he shorts it, I would request them to be very careful, because on the immediate next day, if the stock hits another upper circuit, then eventually he will have to bear that 20% of the upper circuit value, which might in turn result to a loss to the seller. And as we discussed, the buyer will not have much consequences. He will get his shares back from the exchange, or the amount that he has paid out to buy the stock. But the seller will have to bear these penalty consequences, in addition to the higher band that he'll have to settle on the next day. Okay, so this is all about short delivery. But yeah, if there are any questions, please jot them down in the comment box below. I'll be happy to help out. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned with the fine tune. Thank you.